So today we're going to be talking about increasing equitable access. I'm going to be looking at my other screen. I'm very sorry. And reaching new populations. Reaching populations who maybe think the college isn't for them. And maybe using CPL as a lever. Joined by Allison, Tom-Miura, and Benitez, Shelly, Hess, and Dr. Sigrid Williams. And we will be running through a lot of examples of students who've been awarded CPL, the different types of credentials that have been crosswalked, and how it's been done at the colleges. Take a look, take your camera out from your phone and take a picture of that Padlet materials, QWERTY, and Shelly, I don't know if you could work on putting a link to that in the, or maybe how about Dan Lambros? Dan, can you work on getting a link to that Padlet based on that QWERTY in the chat so people can open it up on their computer as well? And in that Padlet, we have a number of materials that are supporting this presentation. Let me click record before I forget because I can't. Dan, did you click record on this? Yes.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Thank you,
We're
Dan.
both recording. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I got the link. I put it in.
Thank you, Shelly. Okay. So we're going to talk about where to start, examples from the field, and give you some different types of examples. And then we'll talk about multi-college recommendations that are available for you to consider. And then we'll talk about creating and sharing exhibits. And let's talk first about where to start. Yeah, you want to start?
So this is, yep. So this is my slide. As was mentioned in the first session about the number of CPL opportunities at Miramar College, you may be wondering, if you haven't started CPL, how do you get there? And I would say that you really need to start, you can start small. Don't think that you have to have it all done at once, but really what Miramar's success is attributed to the faculty. So finding a lead faculty or faculty who are passionate and are connected to those industry certifications, that's really where you can start going. As Sam had mentioned earlier, you also have a lot of recommendations that are already in MAP. Go there because a lot of this groundwork has already been laid. And then all you need to do is make those connections. And that's really how we started and got to where we are now. And then just continued support for faculty to be able to make those connections with the CPL opportunities. I don't know if you have anything to add.
Maybe we'll give you an example of the shared recommendations. Actually, there is a in the Padlet, you'll see a file called post credit recommendations, and we'll give Sigrid will be talking to that a little bit later. That is an area of opportunity for you, is using those shared recommendations to establish. That gives a little more validity at your college. Hey, if the 5 different colleges have discussed these credit recommendations based on post and recommending this, maybe we can recognize that. And then I think looking at local business owners and industry partners, chambers, agencies, employers as a place to look for opportunities. And I know Allison and Aaron are going to be talking about their cohort programs. Okay. And the last bullet about involving willing faculty from the start, we've made it a practice to not encourage any sort of confrontation about CPL. Not everyone is a believer in CPL. And so we like to go to the Coalition of the Willing and work with faculty who are interested, especially if they want to build enrollment in their programs. It's a great way to do that. So we talked about this at our last session, but about removing unnecessary barriers. And maybe the first to consider is changing your petition process into a contact person to discuss CPL options. You don't necessarily have to get rid of your CPL, your petition, but it shouldn't be the first point of contact for your students to encounter a petition or to have to figure out a petition process. It really should be a person or a nice website that has a connection to a person. And the other is we talked about this in our last session too, is consider eliminating roadblocks. And we have the AP 4235 recommended model also in the Padlet for you to consider revising your AP. And then the next one is is there a place to award complete certificates? This goes back to your AP 4235. Does your AP stop you from awarding complete certificates for registered students? And maybe Shelly and Allison might want to mention a little bit about some examples that they've encountered.
Yeah, we have an example of a student from Miramar College in the fire technology program that was actually able to receive a certificate primarily based on CPL and the associate degree, given that he still had the 12 units in residence in the degree. But that was one of our big examples of a student being able to receive a complete certificate based on CPL. So we don't have any limits in that regard.
Right.
Yeah, we have the same thing where we had an aviation student who actually received two types of one aviation mechanic, one airframe power plant certificates, and he had also already completed all his general ed requirements, and so he got a degree and is actually now teaching, although for one of our competitors.
Oh, I didn't realize he was teaching, Allison.
Yeah, I just found out the other day.
Well, it's got to warm your heart feeling that, even though it's one of your competitors.
Yes.
And I imagine, and this on the complete certificates, I imagine that this is really based on the documentation associated with the industry credential, and the courses in which they have to demonstrate mastery through assessment is all defined by the industry, right? And aligned with your curricula.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a 1-for-1 curriculum alignment. So it can make sense. We also want you to know about our MAP articulations list, which you may have seen just before in previous session. So use that for ideas from other colleges. You've seen this before, but I just want to highlight West LA's college CPL examples again and dive into them one by one to give you an example of how this works. And looking at real estate appraiser trainee cohort of 150, I think maybe 150 students receiving 7 units of credit for 1,050 units. And you can see the lineup of these certifications. We'll go through them one by one to talk about how it works and how it has worked for West LA. Here is the real estate appraiser trainee cohort. And to the right is the crosswalk between the map created, what we call an exhibit. An exhibit is really just a documentation package of the evidence that's needed for CPL. It gives a name to the type of industry certification or whatever type of CPL it is. It assigns a code to it. This is analogous to ACE IDs that Military Guide uses, the American Council on Education does when they analyze a military training. They convene faculty, they analyze it, they create an exhibit, they give it a code, it has credit recommendations, and that's what appears on JSTs for service members. Well, in the same way, West LA got together, their faculty in business and real estate analyzed this program, and I'll let Allison talk more about it, and created the crosswalk, and then it's applied to students. Do you want to talk a little bit about, let me just click next. Can you address these sort of questions and prompts, Allison?
Sure. I have since found out that the LA County Office of the Assessor had approached our president, who in turn assigned it to our academic affairs VP, who in turn asked the dean and the real estate faculty to look at and evaluate. They were looking at, we have such a need to train more appraisers and as for our office. And so they were going through some of the initial industry in-house training that is an industry-wide acceptance. And so our real estate faculty reviewed the materials, found it to meet the standards, of course, for the industry. The agency provides the scores of the exams for the courses that were deemed to correlate to two of our courses, and I think it's two or three. And then those students that earned a 70% or higher received credit, and they were also prerequisites for the remaining two or three courses that they need for the certificate. I can't remember if it's three courses that we're giving and then two more, but it's a total of 5 in the certificate. And so Sam alluded to some of the barriers that we were working through. We found out that the students had to apply for CPL through our office, through academic affairs. Then they had to go to counseling and apply for them to release the prerequisite hold. And so what we suggested is like, well, why don't we just do it once and if we give them CPL, it will clear the prerequisite, and then counseling's not involved. Plus counseling didn't really need to be involved because they just needed to say, these students, first of all, they didn't come here until they were taking the courses with the secondary courses. And so they were off-site, and we just did a standard ed plan of the 5 courses for the certificate. And we clear the prerequisite automatically now up front, so they can not have any barriers with enrollment in the last 2 courses. And we have 4 cohorts a year. That's how many we're doing, and they range from 40 to 50 students. Now, not every student passes. I mean, that's just the reality. And then some students, even that they passed the prerequisites, they might have just dropped out of the program. It wasn't a good fit for them. So then they didn't complete the whole award. But I think out of the 150, that's been 5 students. So that's a very small percentage of students that have been lost. It's a great training and retention partnership. We are providing a trained workforce for the LA County Assessor's Office. And of course, our division is growing. And we just hired a new full-timer in that division. So they were really happy that the real estate program has grown in this area, and they were able to hire a new full-timer.
Wow. So the opposite of giving away units helped you grow the department. Yeah, and that is so neat. You're helping those folks social mobility and get better careers and jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you document the evidence, Allison?
We have the grades, so we upload those with the evidence for each course. I mean, it's a little repetitive, but and then and part of the class, when they do come and take the last 2 classes, we actually integrate the graduation petition process as part of the class. So we're closing the loop to ensure we also get the award. So that's the other thing. There is some upfront work that academic affairs does do on making sure everyone gets applied to the college, and that is still a hurdle with the CCC apply sometimes. Sometimes people come with holds. These are working adults, so they might have had a hold at one of our sister colleges, even our own college. So there are some troubleshooting that we have to do with working adults. And then, but we do make sure that we close the loop to make sure that we receive the awards, because that's the big payoff as well with our SCIF metrics.
Okay, as I mentioned, we have a lineup of other examples. And let's take a look at industry certifications and industry certificates and licenses. This is the registered dental hygiene license. 80 students received 16 units each for $1,280. units, and on the right is the crosswalk. We're going to talk about these as a package here. So I'm going to, so here's the crosswalk of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 courses. And here is the dental assisting license or dental assist extended function license. And that is 8 students receiving 29 to 33 units, depending on what they come with. And a long list of course credit that they receive for that. That's a big, and I know this is part of is this part of a bachelor's program, or is that the next?
The bachelor's program is the dental hygiene.
Is the dental hygiene? Okay.
Yes.
That's this one.
Yes.
Okay.
So just a little bit of more detailed info on this. So this is for students that are completing our bachelor's completion program. We have the entry-level bachelor's of dental hygiene, and this would be the bachelor's completion. So it's designed for students like myself. I'm also a dental hygienist that received many moons ago an associate's degree. And so when you take the major courses, they're essentially the same ones that the bachelor degree has now. All the bachelor degrees has upper division and a couple of other courses, but the majority of them, you're still doing the same thing in clinic and public health. So we decided about 16 units are the ones that why would you repeat them? And so you get credit for prior learning for having an active California registered dental hygiene license. So it's an incentive, but it's not just an incentive, it's also where you're going to keep repeating the same courses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And anything you want to say about the assisting?
So I was thinking about with the dental assisting, and it gets a little convoluted. Now, if imagine yourself, you're a registered dental assistant, and maybe you went to a vocational school, or maybe you learn on the job and you never set foot in a school, but you have your California approved registered dental assistant license. So the program that we have, it's approved by the dental board. So if you have your RDA or RDA-EF license, you qualify to get 29 CPL units. And so if you envision yourself as somebody who hasn't been in school in 20 years, but you've been practicing as an RDA, first-time college student, and you keep thinking, well, it's going to take forever for me to go back to school. Well, as long as you have your RDA or RDA-EF license, you have 29 units. And so all you need now is 31 units of GEs, and you get your associate's degree.
This is the sort of a flyer a program description you can get, where on the left is the CPL that you get for dental assisting, and on the right are the courses that you would have to complete.
So an orthodontic assistant is a step above of what a dental assistant is. And so the courses on the left that says prerequisite dental assisting courses are courses that you would take in the dental assisting program. And so those classes give you a specific certificate that's required to become an ortho assistant, to get the license. So the actual major, quote unquote, major courses for ortho assisting would be the ones on the right, 17, 18, co-op ed, and 03. And so as long as you have the certificates on the left, you get the CPL, and it's a stackable certificate where you end up getting a 16-unit certificate of achievement.
If you haven't already figured it out, Aaron is the AO, he's faculty in dental, and pretty much functioning like the CPL coordinator. So he's like a unicorn. That don't try to recreate this at your college, but it's a pretty nice combo to have. Okay, emergency medical technician. This is a big one that we all could probably.
Right. So if a person comes with their license in EMT, we will give them these credits. And so this is something that we've already we have a couple partners that we do this with. And so we actually have, I just want to say that our numbers for each of these cohorts, we actually have a whole slew of people waiting because we have stopped, we took a break from actually issuing new CPL since the end of July, just because we wanted to make sure that we put everything into MAP and that we move forward in processing all of our CPL through MAP, because we were using Excel and Adobe Sign, and
Yeah.
it was a very painful process. And so this is going to be so much easier, and students are very excited. We do have a draft website where it's focused on evidence and experience, where students can try to find their evidence and experience by kind of discipline or career area, and then see what evidence they need to have to put forward their request. So that's something that we're update monthly, that list, because curriculum can change and be added and updated. But yes, this is our EMT one.
I can't wait to see that website, Allison. That sounds just what we need. Whoops. And here's paramedicine.
Yeah, so similar thing. We actually have been refining this. We have a combination of credit by exam and some industry certifications for the field experience. So the two courses that are related to clinical internship and field internship, those are actually industry CPL, and then the majority, except for the life support, also is industry, and then the rest is actually credit by exam, that we have an industry partner where they use the same exam that we use. And so our faculty have approved it. It's proctored by one of our faculty. So it's a combination of how we approve this paramedicine. We know that this area will grow for us as well.
Yeah, and I think we were talking, Allison, about this, that we need to pull this one apart maybe and make 3 different
Right.
exhibits.
Well,
out
we
of
do
it.
have one for if they actually come with the license, but that's not really been a large demand. It's really been for the folks that are with some of our other industry partners. So yes, that one is a little more complicated and is taking a couple exhibits.
Okay. And this is the big, yes, Shelly, go ahead.
There's a question in the chat about students paying for courses awarded via CPL. And I know for Title V, you can only charge for credit by exam.
Right.
San Diego District, we don't charge, but I don't know if you guys want to talk about your process.
Yeah, we don't charge either. But the students are not eligible for financial aid because we are just awarding them credit. They're actually not enrolled in courses per se where they're taking courses. Because we did have that question. We had a student that, I'm trying to get enrolled and get my credits from West LA so I can not have to pay my student loans. It's like, okay, well, these are not going to be eligible. So we had to clarify that up front to the student. We're giving you the free credit already for your work that you've done, but it's not going to be eligible to delay your loan payments and financial aid.
Yeah, good point. We don't charge as well for credit for grad learning.
So just this one screen on our federal aviation power plant license and our airframe mechanic licenses. So those are 2 separate licenses. We did have a student who has an active FAA license, both of those licenses. He had also completed all of his general ed at West LA College. So we awarded his 2 certificates, and he applied them actually to a degree. Graduated in June and is teaching for a competitor.
This is so beautiful.
Wish we could recruit him to be on our own faculty, but we'll see, hopefully, in the future.
You know, the goal of CPL is not to be a degree mill. It is
Right.
to foster social mobility and access to higher ed, and then access to a better career. And this is a great example of that. He had earned these credits, but just wasn't getting them in the form that would get him toward that associate's and then further on.
There's another question in the chat, just going back to that piece about financial aid that you mentioned, Allison. They've been told that the units do count toward the limits. So maybe the clarification is it counts towards the units for financial aid, but not for deferring the financial aid. I don't think I said that very well, but does that make sense?
Well,
So in
in
their
this
overall unit accumulation, it would count, but it doesn't count in terms of being able to defer their financial aid. Or am I confusing
No on
you?
that one. I don't know enough on that to comment, Shelly.
Yeah, all I know is that the student had applied, so he had completed the industry certification elsewhere. He had applied to West LA just so he can get the CPL, but he wasn't applying to West LA for financial aid. Because he's not going to get paid for financial aid. So there really is no purpose to add West LA under his FAFSA or whatever. So I'm not sure if I'm answering that question because I don't know enough about financial aid.
Okay,
you.
let's zoom on ahead to examples of other types of CPL. And here we have adult school coursework. And again, West LA's is working with their local adult ed school. You want to talk about this, Aaron?
Yes, we have a local adult school, so it's obviously a non-regional accredited university, but we took a look at their curriculum for some of the courses that are really close to ours, and so we didn't really need to modify much. We ended up giving them the exam that we use, and so it's essentially credit by exam, and so it's proctored by somebody that we've worked with, and so when we give them the credit, then we end up giving them the state certificate that they're going to need to become a dental assistant. So it works out great because these are students that they weren't going to come to West LA. They were in that adult school, and so they were coming to us for continuing education, which is not for credit. So they were paying. And so this eliminated a lot of those barriers for them.
And now because they are receiving credit from us, many of them are continuing on into our full certificate program for dental assisting.
Yeah, that's the exciting part. You really have a support for matriculation,
Yes.
which is fantastic. I just want to mention briefly that high school articulations through as a credit by exam type of CPL are being created by West Hills Lemoore. These are the first three that they've been working on. And I believe West LA, you have a computer science course that you do.
Yeah, we have Computer Science 101.
Yeah. And a lot of colleges have been doing high school articulations for many years. And so we're kind of excited about having all of those in MAP as well, so that we can see transparently what's available, students can see what's available, and then we can get credit as colleges for that CPL. Here's our multi-college recommendations. We have them in Automotive Services Excellence, ASE certificates, Peace Officer Standards and Training. Fire Academy is underway. EMT, we're working on documenting that and finishing that up, and then we'll work with City College of San Francisco and West LA, and maybe we'll pull in someone else, Allison and Aaron from another college, see if we can come up with a multi-college shared exhibit for that, as well as for paramedic. And then cybersecurity, I think Shelly's probably going to be tapped on that to help with a statewide faculty work group from a number of colleges. Here's let me go back. Sorry. Here's what the ASE looks like at Miramar, I believe. Shelly, you want to talk a little bit about this?
Sure. So these are the part of the mapping for Miramar for ASE Auto. And again, that was done with a statewide group, I believe out of your group, Sam.
It was before our group. Yeah.
Yeah, so they came there again. This is those faculty champion coming together. And as you can tell, there's a total of 36 units that students can get for industry certification for automotive.
Yeah, it's
It's really exciting.
Super exciting. Dr. Williams, can you jump on here and talk about post CPL recommendations?
Oh, welcome to do so. Good morning, everyone. An ADJ state work group was formed back in March of this year. I was one of 2 facilitators and a subject matter expert in this field. We spent over 400 hours crosswalking and aligning 8 of our CID ADJ classes and 1 elective, along with Area E, with California Accreditation's body, Police Officer Standards and Training, and their 42 learning domains. 30 units seems like a lot. However, the minimum number of hours required through post in an academy is 664, but everyone in the work group agreed that our post police academies are well over 1,000 hours, with some in excess of 1,200 hours of training and education. So again, this was a huge endeavor that took hundreds of hours to complete. Subject matter experts from 6 colleges throughout the state were included in this project, and we had some deep conversations about what, if any, credits could be given to our adult learners with an accredited post certificate of completion from a police academy here in California. We also took into consideration the different legislative assembly bills that were being introduced and actively sought to become law regarding our law enforcement professionals. So this becomes a win-win if we can give credit, or CPL, to our police officers that have graduated the academy, because a modern policing degree is going to be coming down the pipe at some point. And since our work was approved through consensus through the MAP cohort, we have seen some colleges that have already begun to revamp their curriculum to make this recommendation align with their transferable degrees versus their non-transferable degrees. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a link up there that you can actually see the work that we've done. We went from 110 pages and we've condensed it down to 38 pages for easy reading. And just to give you a little bit of other background, our outcomes are groundbreaking. They will change the lives of many of our police officers. You saw one example that was given by Dr. Lee earlier in the beginning of the session with Captain Milligan. 50.3% of our police officers have an associate's degree or higher. We have over 117,000 police officers in the state of California. That leaves 50% roughly that will need to get some type of degree. So this really helps them on their way to that degree process. We always kept our work student-centered and community-centered, keeping in mind giving credit where credit is deserved. We don't want our students and our police officers that are professionals in the field to have to go through that redundancy of taking ADJ courses that have already been identified, that, material covered in the academies. It also reduces the cost of education by giving them the credits, and it reduces and or eliminates any of the equity issues. What we're accomplishing with all CPL through the California MAP initiative is taking our individual colleges and our articulations and bringing them together and holding them in one repository. And I know this isn't really part of my thing. I'm throwing this extra plug out there, but this becomes a win-win for all of our community colleges in the state. Just as Chancellor Christian said in her presentation, CPL is at the forefront of her Vision 2030. And I believe Dr. Lee will be speaking on this more in the final part of the main session before we end the summit. I'll take any questions if anyone has any.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Williams. That's, it's such great work to bring together the practitioners from diverse colleges and have these discussions, and they painstakingly matched up the learning domains and teaching, was it TTSs?
Mm-hmm.
Sigrid?
Yeah.
And which align with our student learning outcomes. And notice that this also has CID. It's linked to CID. So that's an important thing to note, because we want this to be as portable and adoptable as possible. So I think there's 116 administration of justice programs by differing names at each of our colleges in the state. And so our hope is that all 116 would consider these recommendations and adopt whatever are appropriate for their local courses based on their local expertise. And so you can see how that impact would multiply if we have 50,000. I don't know, Sigrid, if it's maybe 50,000 sworn officers in the state who may not have an associate's degree. And that's quite an audience. Each one of them would be eligible for a pay bump and promotion bump with an associate's degree. And then if they can transfer to one of our CSU partners for 100% online degree in criminal justice or an aligned area, they would qualify for another promotion pay bump. And like you saw, would be able to qualify for chief of police position. So any, any position, even at the highest levels in those local police departments.
We have a couple of hands up in the chat.
All right.
Maybe they should put their questions in the chat, or do you want? I don't have the access to unmute them.
Okay. I see something from Araba. Let me unmute Araba.
Yes, thank you for sharing this information. If we wanted to get more information about the statewide ADJ work group to share with our faculty, can we reach out to Dr. Williams, or what's the best way to update our own faculty about some of the work that has been doing here with the CPL?
Yeah, please contact Dr. Williams directly. Also, Araba, in the Padlet, we supplied that PDF of the full report. So there's maybe Shelly, could you pop that link for the Padlet again in the chat, maybe just so it's fresh at the top. Everyone use that Padlet link, grab that report, save it to your computer. It's worth its weight in gold. Okay.
There's a question in the chat as well about will the CSU accept the courses for the ADJ? And is there a limit?
They will accept the courses as long as they're transcribed and part of the ADT. We have their assurance they will accept all transcribed courses that we have on the transcript. If you run into any problems, or if you hear that it's not accepted, please let us know right away pronto. We have a direct line to CSU Chancellor's office, and they want to know if there are any hiccups with that. We're working with Skyline College at San Mateo, who's working with Cal State East Bay on a special cohort program that I'm not going to say too much more about, but it'll be the first of many, I think, in the state once it gets going. Okay, let's move on. We've got some other examples to show you. Fire technology with let me see if there it goes. Miramar College. Shelly.
So this is just another example. We've been talking about fire this morning of some units that have been mapped to industry certification. As you can tell, the total units, 26 total units in just this one exhibit. But note the FIPT 381F, students can gain up to 9 units of credit. And for FIPT 381S, they can receive up to 13 units of credit for that course. So this is just another good example of what's been happening with fire. And I believe fire is another group that will be convening very soon for a statewide.
Yeah, we met with Shelly. We met with, you were in that meeting, I believe. Were you in that meeting with the San Diego Fire?
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have the expertise in this, but I was, I was feeling ignorant about all the different options and avenues, pathways in fire that there are, and including apprenticeship, pre-apprenticeship, fire in lots of different fire investigation, inspector certifications. I know there are a lot more than this as potential CPL.
Yes. And this is just a glimpse of what Miramar has done for fire. And as you mentioned, I'm not a ton. I mean, there's so many different pathways that they have, and a lot of students will get multiple certifications with fire. I will say though, with San Diego Miramar College Public Safety Management, the bachelor's degree that just got approved, one of the pathways that leads to it is the fire associate degree, one of our fire associate degrees. So they've also built in upper division CPL in that degree as well. So as soon as we're ready to launch it and share that with the world, we will share that with you.
That's great. And that is based on, and pardon my ignorance on the fire, but is this the fire academies, are they similar to post academy?
Yes, that's
yeah.
my understanding. Sometimes it's done by the agency, like students will go through the CAL FIRE, get the certification, and then they'll come to us for the actual degrees and certificates. So it's
Okay.
similar. Sigrid might have a little bit more background on that part.
I was typing in the chat. I'm sorry, Shelly. Say that again.
For fire, very similar to the administration of justice in terms of like CAL FIRE. A lot of students will go through CAL FIRE,
Right.
get their industry certification, and then come to Miramar College and then use that industry certification as CPL for their degree or certificate with us.
Right, right. And that again could be a statewide work group that can be put together, and that information can be thrown into the repository and it can be accepted that way. Similar to ACE that we have, you know, the accreditation body for veterans, that's a consensus. And when you get multiple colleges that say, yes, we all agree on this, the legitimacy might be a little bit, others may accept that legitimacy a little bit more than just taking one articulation from a certain college.
Great. Thank you. Okay, let's take a look at this dizzying thing. This is a compilation of the industry certifications that have been crosswalked. Shelly, I sorted out your credit by exam, so this does not include your credit by exam, because I
Not
thought
include
maybe,
credit.
yeah, because I thought maybe maybe if we just wanted to focus on the industry certifications that have been crosswalked to courses at Miramar.
Yeah,
Here's
and I really liked your statistics you had on your slide this morning about how many certifications there were. I think you had written there's about 80. We do have 88 certificates or degrees that have some type of CPL matched to them. A good example, aviation has up to 37 of their courses within their degree because they have different options, can be accomplished by CPL. So
Yeah. Look at the Padlet. In the Padlet, folks, there's a document, I think it's called Miramar Industry Certificates CPL, and it has a longer table. Shelly, I just took your data and just put it into a Word doc table just to give people a flavor of the courses that are associated with each of these industry certs. So that they can see, hey, maybe I have courses like this. And folks, if you do, if you have any of these areas, you can use the exhibit that San Diego has created and then match it and articulate it with your own local courses, if your faculty are willing. And our whole goal is that no matter where a student would choose to go, that they would get equitable credit for prior learning at our community colleges. But we want to do this based on the expertise of local faculty, because that's where the power is. It's the local faculty that worked on each of these, right, Shelly? Your
yes.
faculty.
Mhm.
And
as I mentioned before, it didn't happen overnight. It's just been a gradual, and then we continue to add to it.
yeah, it's fantastic. And Desiree has been working on getting each of these documented into MAP. Yeah.
And then we'll get all your students in there too. That's our
Yeah, I can't wait
our
I can't wait for that next step. We're working with Shelly's office to get a list of all their students so we can batch upload those and apply each of those credits to them. And then you'll see San Diego's work shine. This is just a mock-up of a possible 2+2 pathway for Bakersfield College leading to CSU Bakersfield. If anyone from Bakersfield is on here, I'm going to say loud and clear, this is recorded. This is not a real 2+2 pathway. This is based on the credits that I saw that you give for your post-certification. But this is just a mock-up. This is a mock-up of the screens that you see in Program Pathways Mapper. We're working long range to integrate with Program Pathways Mapper so that when you create an articulation, in map, it will display some form of icon like this blue police officer here on a course that is eligible for CPL. So when a student goes shopping for programs, they can enter their qualifications, similar, Allison, to that website you're developing, where let's see if we can zero in on what your qualification certifications might lead you toward. And they can pull up that AJ program at Bakersfield College and see the CPL right there on there. That's a long range goal. And then we want to have that feed right into the CSU partner. And we've discussed this in initial form with the with our CSU partners. And this is a long range goal. This is also similar to what I touched on with the discussion with Skyline College and CSU East Bay, where they are working to identify their post credits. Thank you, Dr. Williams and group, for those posts into their ADT in Administration of Justice, and then have the expectation is that the post credits will cover the first year of instruction, and then the remaining instruction for the ADT can be done in 1 year if you count summer, fall, winter, spring. And this can be delivered to a cohort of pre-scheduled courses. All the GEs can be pre-selected for the students, and all the CSU coursework can be pre-scheduled and pre-selected for the cohort. And that could be packaged and then made available to regional law enforcement officers. This can all be done online as well. So think about that. If you have capacity in your online program to build schedule, think about the potential of that to bring in cohorts for post, fire, any industry like this. And we are just about out of time, but let me open it up because I believe that does it for our slides. And let me just open it up for any questions or comments. And anything from my fellow panelists.
Hey, Sam, I have one little story, if I can, in a few
Great.
seconds. I had a student reach out for me yesterday from Cal State Fullerton, is going through their criminal justice program, but wanted a CSI certificate. And I crosswalk them with our courses right now that are required for that CSI certificate. And they can actually complete it by spring and do many of the classes online during winter and spring session. So again, we're going to have someone that's going to get a degree, have a little bit of CPL in there as well. And they're going to be moving on into a master's program because they want to work within Navy intelligence. So I was excited to be able to send that email to them and tell them, here are the courses that you can take, and we can get you through this real quick while they're still attending Cal State Fullerton.
That is great. That makes me think of another, we were contacted last week. One of our faculty members was contacted by a corrections officer at the prison next door to us. And they did CDCR training similar to post. And I know, Dr. Williams, that your next work group in the first responders work group will be looking at CDCR corrections officers training.
Yes.
And giving recommended credit for that. So this might be our first candidate for that. If you have similar proximity to correctional facilities, you might really think about that for the officers, as well as for the vocational education, adult education courses offered in the prisons, in HVAC and in the trades. Those can be articulated as well for our rising scholar population who is transitioning to out of prison life and into college life. And that would give them a nice warm handoff to our colleges if they could get credit for prior learning for their training in trades. Something to think about there. And if you have other thoughts on potential collaborative evaluations for credit recommendations that you would like to see that would help you in your development of CPL at your college, please let us know. Please let Dr. Williams know, as she's specializing in that area, and let me know as well. Thank you for joining us. And it looks like we're going to be shoot out of here pretty soon. So thank you all for joining. We'll see you back at the ranch.